Hello, my pleasure seekers, and welcome so much to today's episode where I have the beautiful Alex Fraysse, who is a psilocybin expert. He has coached many executives, many people that have learned how to channel their ADHD into being an absolute superpower through the use of psilocybin, aka magic mushrooms. So, today is a very informative session. We talk all about the highs and lows from being diagnosed with ADHD through to how you can use it with diet, exercise, and lifestyle, through to obviously then cultivating and creating that creativity with the use of psilocybin. So it's super, super, super fascinating. And I loved interviewing Alex, and I hope you will enjoy the show as much as I did today. And for anyone out there that is thinking, oh my gosh, I can totally resonate with this, where the hell do I start? Feel free to slide into mine or Alex's DMs. All information, as always, is in the show notes for you guys. And enjoy today's episode. Mwah! Hello, my pleasure seekers, and welcome to the new year of 2024. And I have got a really exciting guest today, which is Alex Fraysse, who is a flow coach, an ADHD expert, a psilocybin magician. I'm going to go into all these amazing things that he's kind of briefly shared that he helps heal the world with. And Alex, it's an absolute honor to have you on today. I am super excited to get to know you and to understand how you got into this world and what has driven you to tap into the ADHD side of things as well.
Well, thank you very much for having me. It's a very pleasure and an honor to be on your show. So I'm very excited to share everything that I know about ADHD, psilocybin, and all the other fun stuff to help people in their everyday lives and make their lives extraordinary.
Oh, amazing. Okay. So, I mean, if we just start off then from scratch, like what brought you into getting to wanting to help people with ADHD?
So I've always been ADHD over the course of my life, but it wasn't until about 2019 that actually got my diagnosis, and I got diagnosed via a neuroscientist at a health clinic I was working at, and I had a brain mat. Basically, I got put on one of those funny little skull cap things with all the electrodes coming out, which was really cool. And I remember having a chat with the guy the evening before, kind of like at a drinks party. And he goes, I'm testing your brain tomorrow. I'm like, yeah, I know. I'm not drinking. I'm being very good. And he's like, we chat for about 15 minutes. And he just goes, I can tell what your brain's going to look like. I'm like, the hell does that mean? He says, I'll tell you tomorrow. I'm like, all right then. And then after the test is done, he just looks at me and goes, told you. I'm like, fuck. and I
Wow.
had and I previously had no idea I was ADHD. I just thought I was normal, and I just kind of got by on life quite well because I could kind of just do things really, really quickly, really, really easily, and I could teach myself things quite easily. So I never really needed extra time at school, even though at school I'd be daydreaming out the window half the time, especially if it was boring. I'd just be like, and it'd be like a fantastic, like Van Gogh, Monet kind of scene in my brain and be beautiful. But in class, it'd just be like brain dead. And then it all started to make sense as to how my life has been and the way things have kind of been orchestrated over the course of my life, my emotional reactions, how I am at work, what I'm interested in, what I'm not interested in. So then I kind of started realizing, hey, let's take a deeper look into this and how it's affected my own life, and then better understand myself, so then I can then better understand other people and help other people.
Wow. So, what was your first reaction then when you were told this?
Honestly, complete denial. I was like, no, I don't have
Really?
it. No, I'm fine. Like, I didn't really understand because I was like, I was a straight A student at school, university. I did pretty well, and I was like, well, I don't really understand how this has affected me. And he didn't really give me any background as to what ADHD was or anything like that. So I was kind of just like, here you go, your diagnosis. I'm like, all right, okay. Well, I've got work, I've got other stuff, I've got a busy life. I'm just going to carry on doing that. And I didn't really take a deep interest until about 3, 4 months later. And then I was like, oh, actually, hang on. This is actually affecting my life in different ways. And I started understanding more and more about it.
And so then what was the first thing where you were like, I'm gonna kind of maybe believe this guy that this is legitimate, and started accepting that? Because we go through those patterns, don't we, of like
Oh, yeah.
denial, then like maybe anger or rage, and then like,
The whole
okay.
judgment cycle. Yeah. The happiness, the yes, the no, the anger, the absolutely not, the complete sort of no, doesn't matter, whatever, carry on with it. And it wasn't until I started researching the symptoms of ADHD in particular more. What I don't have hyperactive, I have combined.
Mhm.
So, but the first few pages which I looked up, let's say on Dr. Google, as I like to call him, was all about inattentive ADHD. And I was like, oh shit. I could see the daydreaming. I could see the not being focused on tasks which I really don't enjoy doing and all of this. I was like, oh no. And then the realization hits you like, oh man, this, and it all kind of just makes sense as to why I've always felt different because my brain chemistry is literally different than everybody who is a neurotypical.
But why did you see it as a negative? Because I think a lot of people like this is
Oh,
I'm pretty ADHD, but I'm in denial of like I don't want to have another label. I just don't need another label. But like I've been assessed 4 times, and each time I've distracted the vigilator when I was at school. This is quite a while ago, and so they've come back inconclusive, which kind of means yes. But for me, I didn't want another like label, as it were, because there is that negative connotation. There is. And
massively.
yeah, which isn't fair because it's a superpower. It's so powerful if you
Yeah.
know how to use it. So how did you then go into the process of being like, amazing, I've got this great skill in a way, in a wacky, crazy way to use?
So basically, I kind of went through the, yeah, because that school is very much termed as, basically you are, people got given extra time, and that was like a very,
Yeah,
amongst the school thing, like that's uncool that like you're the stupid child if you need extra time. I'm like, well, I'm not stupid. I got straight A's at school, but that's also because I taught myself the syllabus in 2 to 3 months.
totally.
People
Yeah.
are like, how did you get straight A's at GCSE and A level? I'm like, because I taught myself in 3 months. They're like, what do you mean? There's 2 years worth of work. I'm like, because you guys are bad teachers and I know how to teach myself.
And it's memory. You just have to memorize the answers.
Memorize the answer, understand the flow, but then I could then teach myself in a way which made it interesting to me, and I could give myself rewards. So I was like, yes, this is interesting. I want to do this, and then I could get the hyper focus. So then I started understanding about more, and then I started making the links back to when I was at school or uni, and how I would make subjects which are utterly boring very, very interesting, and then I could get into a state of hyper focus. So it would be in a case of literally gamifying the subject or the task, the matter, and then that would give me dopamine. That'd be like rewards, and that's why I would get into flow, into hyper focus, and be able to kind of do things. I was also fortunate in the fact that my dad used to take me to work and lock me in an office for about 8 to 9 hours, 10 hours a day during exam time. During exam time,
Okay.
and this was like during Easter holidays, and just when you get time off from school, I'd go into this office and I would just work. And I would just that because everyone around me was working. It's like co-working. It's like body doubling, which is massive for ADHD people to have someone just there, like, hey, stop daydreaming. Sorry, yeah, back and just back on it. So I find that was incredibly useful. And then I started tying the dots more in the last couple of years of, okay, this is why it's fantastic. This is why it's a superpower. Like all of my best friends have ADHD. A lot of them are very, very successful business owners.
Mm.
And, we're talking 7 figures. They made 7 figures from for themselves running businesses. So I see how it is very, very easy to get into the right scheme of it. There's also the aspect of masking. So I know a lot of them do mask, so they hide aspects of ADHD just to be perceived as neurotypicals. So it's very much a case of, for me, it's a case of not masking and then emulating their success, but also what I know I'm capable of myself.
So wait, can you go a bit more into masking and what that could potentially look like then?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. So, you're in a, let's say, easiest thing is you're in a social setting and you're not really wanting to be there. You kind of just like, hi, you small talk is the easiest way I can put it. You just like, oh, hi, how are you? What'd you do? Da 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 da. And inside you're like, kill me.
Mm.
Someone, get me out of here. You kind of wish that teleportation was possible. You just press a button. You're like, I'm out of here. Thank you. Bye. It can also be at work when you are told to not be emotional or reactive. You're just like, okay, well, let me just be in like this instead and just talk very normally. And therefore, I don't stand out and I can hide in this fun little one. That to me is absolutely crippling.
Right.
And it's a massive source of anxiety and depression and stress, which has in my life I've definitely seen it, and I've also seen it within my clients' lives as well. How that masking affects the underlying amounts of joy that they can tap into.
And so then how do you help clients in those situations to embrace who they really are, I guess, and stand out? Because that's so intimidating. If you're in a working environment, your paycheck is like everything. If you're in a 9 to 5, for example, like there's a big fear, right, of any of this. So yeah.
The first thing I do is I allow them to be seen and recognized for who they are, because
Mm,
they generally aren't. They can't be themselves. They have to be a persona. They have to act. So the first thing I do is I give them the safe space to it's okay to be yourself. If
mm,
you need to have a breakdown, have a breakdown. If you need to be hyperactive, be hyperactive. If you need to be a bit more distant, be more distant. Like whatever it is in that moment is always, always welcome. And we work from that point forwards. And then from there, everyone is different. So I can't really say what I do in particular because I treat everyone very, very differently, and everyone has unique qualities and traits and interests. So I then tailor it once you are feeling safe and seen. Then we can begin the work of the unmasking.
right. Okay. And then typically for you then, who would come to you? Is there a kind of like classic sort of person or like environment where
So currently, I work with creative CEOs, professionals, those kind of people, because I tend to find they're also much more ready to commit
mm,
from a okay, I'm done with feeling like this, and there's no excuses, and there's just work. And there's also my favorite clients. It's like, right, that's how I work. That's how I prefer to work. It's like, are you ready? Yes, I'm ready to do anything. I, I say jump. They say how high, or do I jump into your arms? I'm like, you can do both. I'll catch you either way. It's absolutely fine. So I work with people who are actively wanting to make a difference in their lives, and who are ready to embrace who they are. That's the toughest part, to embrace who you are and to be accepting and also forgive yourself and also everyone else around you. That's where it ties in with the emotional part of, you have to forgive yourself, you have to accept yourself, you then have to forgive others, you have to accept them for where they are and their state of life or their level of understanding of your own condition, which is usually absolutely zilch, nothing. So there's definitely a part of that, and then the surrendering to the aspect of life of being the way it is, and putting you in places and positions where this is exactly where you are meant to be in order to become who you are.
and that sounds easier said than done, right?
100%. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Yeah.
make it sound like ABC, butter on bread, spread, done. Like not the case. It's work. It's work.
Yeah, particularly in times of just what we've come out of, like Christmas and festive periods where you're around elderly relatives and things like that, who, in the kindest way possible, may not have ever been exposed to these sorts of things. And for you, do you think it's like genetic or hereditary? Do you have any kind of idea why you think some people develop these, I
Yeah.
guess, traits in some way?
Yeah, so I have two theories. One of them, which is, I mean, it's still both theories, but one of them is definitely that it's genetic, and there are certain genes which are very prevalent in it. So you have the DRD4 gene, which is one of the ones that's most expressed within people who have ADHD.
Mm.
I also think there's an aspect of the GAD gene, which is to do with glutamate and its ability to kind of work inside the system. I both have SNPs reducing their activity. So for me, I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And anytime I have anything to do, let's say bread rich or like that kind of heavy carb rich, my brain goes super scatty. So
Oh,
I very much don't enjoy eating bread. People
mm.
are like, why? I'm like, because my brain just goes, and I'm like, fuck, just becomes a nightmare. So I reduce those aspects which make my brain not function the way it's meant to. And I find I am much, much better from that standpoint onwards.
Wow. And so how did you come to realize that? Because that's quite a simple thing, but yeah, I bet a lot of people don't think about their diet.
No, a lot of people don't think about that diet. Diet is massive within people with ADHD. I've also got advanced certification in epigenetics, so I learned a lot about epigenetics then. And then there's more research coming out about the specific genotypes and phenotypes around that. So that's kind of my geeky special interest in it, which I absolutely bloody love.
Mm.
And then diet's massive, so diet's absolutely huge. And I saw yesterday somebody posting about, did you know that people self-medicate ADHD with Coca-Cola? And I was like, don't you dare.
That's a
Don't
joke.
you dare.
It has to be.
Absolutely not. That is awful. That is just like pure carbohydrate, sugar, going into your system, and you're just creating blood sugar spikes, which is going to cause erraticness in your mood, in your stability, and your ability to focus. And like, yeah, that's people like, I have 2-3 Cokes a day. I'm like, that is exactly why you are not doing very well right now. Like they continue with the sugar high and the crash, and that's not a good way to do it. And it's been shown that that also affects your brain health, also your gut health, hormone health. So if you tie all of those in together, I'm making this very simple, by the way. It's much more complex than that. If you tie those all in together, you basically create a cauldron of doom. Like, it's not good. It's not the type of brew, witchy brew that we want to be creating for our people. And a lot of studies have shown the effects of a high sugar diet within people with ADHD and how it is very not beneficial at all.
I can just imagine it's like when you're a kid and you're given those blue Smarties
Oh
before
my
they
God.
were banned.
Yeah, 100%.
As an adult though, flying, punching everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
So how did you get involved? How did you come to then look at psilocybin, or for other people listening, it's a form of a mushroom, quite a powerful mushroom, maybe known as
Yeah.
a magic mushroom. Yeah.
So I got into, let's say, the psychedelic realm about 9 years ago. No, 11 years ago.
How?
And
Interest.
how I was always curious about it, and I went to a festival in 2012 called Boom Festival in Portugal, and I took my first ever psychedelic, which was actually DMT, and that changed my whole life, my whole aspect of how I see things and how I approach things. Incredibly beautiful spiritual experience, and I'm very, very grateful for it. And then I started getting into the realms of Terence McKenna and understanding about him, and let's say the OGs within the spiritual community. We talked about it in the 80s, the 90s, and the 70s, and I loved what they were saying about it and how it could open your mind. So I started experimenting on myself, and very much I've always been a solo journeyer for my own personal work, because I also know how to do the work. So I've been trained by certain African ancient traditions and how to do deep spiritual work and do it very, very quickly. So then my mushroom work is, I can take a mega dose, a heroic dose, and be absolutely fine and not need support. Most people are like, how, why wouldn't you? I'm like, because I work faster alone and I can handle the stuff that comes up, and I don't mind an ego death or being shown things which are going to be painful. That shows me where I have much more space to grow. And I've also noticed the incredible amounts of benefits from it. And our great ancestors, there's potential, probably slightly controversial, but there are certain old ancient texts alluding to Jesus Christ taking mushrooms, and other elders taking mushrooms, and that also ties back into our primitive state, hunter gatherers, and that's also where I believe ADHD comes from. There's a theory about that as well, how certain the hunter gatherer aspect was the aspects of people with ADHD. So you have high bursts of energy, your circadian rhythm is a little bit different, so it ties in with that. And I do believe people back then definitely took mushrooms, and it's a fantastic way of calming your nervous system afterwards. During it, obviously, you're much more in it. But there are ways within that space to let go of things, and I find it completely beautiful when I am able to have that crossover from the mushroom journey to the real life. And they have taught me so much, like so much. So a lot of people who do a lot of these somatic training exercises, when we end up talking about stuff, I'm like, oh, I got taught that 5 years ago by the mushrooms. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, oh, they literally sat me down and they showed me how to do this, and they explained me this, and they showed me the spiritual alchemical components, in literally geometric forms and through spiritual technologies. This is how we do stuff. I'm like, oh wow. At the time, I'm like, wow, this is amazing. This is incredible. This is so cool. I want to learn more. And then when I talk with somatic practitioners, they're like, are you trauma informed? I'm like, yes, I am trauma informed. But have you done a somatic course? I'm like, I've got the mushrooms to kind of teach me. So every time I talk to you guys and you show me a course material, everything is exactly what the mushrooms have been teaching me to a degree, which I feel kind of awkward saying, because a lot of them are like, that's not a proper certification. I'm like, no, but it's everything you're talking about. I have literally been sat down and taught by them for 4 to 6 hours every time I do the work. And all the science you guys have in your course, I do that for fun anyways when I'm not a mushroom, because I'm not looking at a computer and trying to do stuff on the internet when it's all going. That is not the way to do it.
No, and I think you know what, like it's great that you're sharing this because I think a lot of people that do experience mushrooms to the extent that you do probably are unafraid to say that because we're bred to think it has to be accredited, a certification, and of course that's amazing and certain
Yeah.
certifications absolutely necessary, but like there is other ways.
100%, 100%. And there's no, I think these days in today's world, we say one way is the only way, my way is the right way. And I've never believed that. And even let's say within the ADHD coaching realm, multiple different ways of doing it, within the nutrition realm, within the herbal realm, let's say within the biohacking realm, everyone's doing something slightly different.
Mm,
Everyone kind of preaches their own gospel. My way is the best way. Cool, do your thing. I don't care. Like, I don't know if you think your way is the best way. Great. I'm going to do my way. I'll take into consideration your way. If I have things to learn from you, I'm more than happy to learn from you because knowledge is power, and the more knowledge you have, the more of service you can be to other people.
definitely, and that's the key, right? And so for you then, you also are quite adverse microdosing, so am I.
Mhm.
What do you can you share a little bit around what microdosing looks like with you, with working with you?
Yeah,
And
sure thing.
I mean, that will vary a lot with different people. I'm similar to you. I'm a solo microdoser for sure. Um, but I do like to do microdosing sometimes if I'm with. Hold up. So, as much as you are enjoying listening to this episode, I just wanted to slide in here quickly to say 83% of you aren't subscribed to listening to the show. And I see you. I know all of you that are listening. I know all of you that are enjoying the show. Now, if you click on the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to, you get reminders of when the show next goes live. It also helps me build and interview better people, creating a better experience for you guys and making sure that everyone is listening to what they want to hear, expressing themselves, and learning more about how to be in their bodies and how to intimately live their most magical life. So, click subscribe, and I will be watching on you, and I will see you soon. Mwah. Enjoy. Back to today's episode. The right energies and the right people around me. So yeah, I would love to hear how you facilitate those journeys. Yeah.
What the fuck?
Okay, I definitely can't hear you. Disappeared. You
Hello?
disappeared? There you are. Okay, hello. Okay, there's two of you now. Let's
This
see. Huh?
Oh, sorry about that. I have no idea what happened there.
Don't worry, that's fine. I can edit it. It's absolutely fine. I asked you the question. So,
Microdosing.
Mike, I know you're a big fan of microdosing, and I microdose myself too. But I really love to understand how you facilitate microdosing with people. I think everyone's different, but I'd love to hear like your approach.
Sure, absolutely. So I will usually tell people it's 6 to 8 weeks, and then the easiest way for most people is to dose, I'd say like twice a week. So like say on a Monday and a Thursday kind of vibes,
Okay.
or it could be like a Tuesday and a Friday. Essentially, you kind of give yourself 3 days in between. I've also done it my way of doing it personally, which is easier, which I find works for me is like I'll do it on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, and like kind of on a Sunday, and I'll repeat that. So then it's like Tuesday, so it's once every 2 days. But with my clients, it generates a lot easier once every 3 days because then we'll do a short call on the days of your microdosing. And then we will then work on whatever the issues are or the goals which you have. It could be issues depending on what work you want to do. It could be goals which you're working towards. We will spend half an hour, 45 minutes on working towards those goals whilst you have just taken your microdoses. First thing, after half an hour, then we work because then you're in that state of, okay, it's coming on. We have the questions, we set everything in the right tone and mood, and then we go from there. And that's like that for 6 weeks or
So
8 weeks.
why particularly psilocybin is it that you use?
I find it's a lot easier to work with psilocybin because she's a spirit. And I work with plant spirits and I talk to plant spirits and I go to their planes of consciousness and I naturally talk to them anyways. So I have a beautiful relationship with her. So for
Hmm.
me, it's easy to work with her. I find with LSD, it's more synthetic, so potentially a little bit more difficult. And I find that mushrooms is a bit more clear. I find LSD can be sometimes a little bit more murky or more stuck in the mind, whereas motion can kind of come through the whole body and the mind. I find it's more connecting to source, but that's just my own personal preference. I prefer working with plant spirits than I do pure synthetics. So yeah, and then it's easier for me to then potentially journey with you and then see what's going on inside of you and help you unblock things.
And so when you're setting the goals, the ADHD in me right now is like, woo! When you set the goals, though, surely if you're like in this like hypervigilant state, for example, how are you even going to have clarity before? Because they surely must change quite a lot throughout the time of your microdosing, like your goals, maybe your intentions, where you're at. You might be like, holy shitballs, like this is nothing. I'm off course. Yeah, does that happen quite a lot, or is it more like clarity before?
Clarity before. So I basically we'll do a pre-consultation before where we're just focusing on, we go through everything, your mental health, your physical health, and then that allows me to see what actually needs to happen. So let's say you have a goal of X, and then all your symptoms or everything you've been doing in your life points to that, and it's about keeping focused on that. At the end of the day, things always come up. Emotional matters always come up. There's stuff to work through, but it's usually if you have that end goal in mind, the mushrooms are like, well, we know what the goal is. We know what we're working towards. We're helping to unblock and remove everything to get towards that. So the progress is not linear, like scientists would love it to be. It's, you know, but generally trajectory is upwards. But there's ups and downs the whole way. Some weeks are better than others. That's a given. But then also that's life. Things happen in life. You could go through a breakup. You could go through a reshuffle at work. You could get a new project at work. We could get new clients, or you have to buy a new car. Something happens in life. It's life. And it's about navigating through that, but also providing the safe space for you to feel safe and feel heard, but then still work towards the end goal.
And do you find that the end goal often by the end is like achieved, or it can be like, okay, great, well, let's go back into another deep dive. Like, how does that kind of come to an end?
So it's usually after 6 to 8 weeks, you have a much better idea of where things are. Some people achieve exactly what they want. Other people are like, I've done so much work. I'm very happy with this. I feel as if I want to go now. I just want like normal coaching, just to carry on with me getting towards my goals. I like some people are just like, I want a bit more hand holding. This has been great. This has been exactly what I need, but I feel as if I still need support. And I'm all here for that. I'm here for all the options. If you're I'm done, I've got my goals, I'm ecstatic, I'm like my job's done, I'm a happy bunny, no issues. If you want hand holding still, if you still want coaching, I'm there. It's very much everyone's different, and I cater to that because everyone with ADHD is obviously very very different.
Yeah, totally. Well, that's what I was about to ask you, the differences in the different types, because like you've just answered my question. They're so different. But if anyone listening right now is like, oh, I feel like maybe I am, I'm not quite sure. Like, is there any key things that they can look out for, and maybe like start just maintaining or improving? And like that, obviously you mentioned diet, but like anything else at all as well?
So things you can do, you can obviously start researching about symptoms either on Google. If you know reading words isn't your thing, TikTok's a great source of finding ADHD content creators. I myself have my biggest platform on there. So I have what is it now, 62 and a half, 63,000 followers on TikTok, and it's my preferred platform of working. Video content, short, sweet, snappy, sometimes a little bit longer. I find that works very, very well. It keeps our attention more. There's more options with editing. I find it easier than Instagram. Instagram Reels are awful.
God, I hate
It's a bad, bad technology. The UI and the UX is awful. They really need to sort that out. Um, so I'd say that's the great way of sort of starting to learn to understand about yourself. If you want to do more research, if you're more interested about supplements and diet, I very much say 3 square meals a day works fantastic because it will keep your blood sugar regulated the whole day, and you are including whole foods, always whole foods. I don't use cardboard foods. I will occasionally have a few grains here and there, but I'm just eating vegetables with every single meal. breakfast aside, which is usually a porridge with some form of protein powder, maybe a bit of a banana, some cinnamon, some nutmeg, and that kind of keeps me going. Keeps my blood sugar regulated, doesn't allow my cortisol to spike first thing in the morning, keeps me nice and balanced. And then I always have a sort, because I'm not vegan, I have chicken and meat and fish. I find chicken is great. It's a rich source of tyramine and tyrosine, which are also going to help convert into dopamine. And then sources of vegetables. So at lunchtime, I will, depending if I've done my morning workout. If I've done a morning workout, I'll have a sweet potato kind of base in my afternoon meal, so I can replenish my glycogen levels. But then it's a lot of vegetables. So I have bell peppers, courgette, broccoli, and it's all kind of cooked with herbs and spices. And I find that also keeps my engagement in the food. But I also love cooking. So I've been in a cooking based family, and I love making things interesting. But then I just get into me because I love cooking. It's easy for me to get into flow, and I know exactly what I want. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm just like, part of me is just like, I need this, I need this, I need this, I need this, and I just end up doing it.
Yeah.
But 3 square meals, protein, three to four sources of vegetable per meal, and I find that works great. If I'm feeling as if I need to pick me up, I have my chocolate startup. We are spellbound, and I just have my focus truffle, which for me works just as well as taking medication. And I don't take meds. I simply refuse to take speed and meth. There is absolutely no way that that is good for you. So I don't do that, but I take a whole host of supplements instead to help boost dopamine. So I'll look at things like mucuna, tyrosine, alpha GPC. I'll be taking vitamin C and sometimes a B vitamin with it, sometimes some zinc and a magnesium to help the conversion into dopamine. And then I have that alongside food. Otherwise, it can get a little bit nauseous.
Fair enough. That's a lot. That's a lot of vitamins you're taking there. I find vitamin
Yeah,
D
I mean,
affects me quite ADHD as well.
it's like four things I kind of take. It's the alpha GPC, it's the tyrosine, it's the mucuna, vitamin C usually, and that's usually my combo. If I'm feeling stressed, I'll take a B complex just to support because you end up peeing out most of your Bs and your Cs when you feel stressed. So I take that when I'm stressed. But I will take this vitamin C just because it helps the conversion into dopamine.
Nice. And do you find vitamin D affects you at all as well in your ADHD?
You know what? Not really.
Really, I've noticed a humongous difference when I came back from Australia. I've been flying.
Oh, interesting.
I mean, I started putting two and two together in, I think it was in November time, because I would just be like on another level. And I'm quite good with my diet as well. I
You
had
mean
this sort of,
vitamin D from sunlight?
yeah, from sunlight.
Ah,
Yeah,
sunlight completely. Yes, sunlight, yes. The supplement itself, meh. The sunlight changes everything.
everything. So I've got a
Everything.
sad light now, vitamin D spray, ashwagandha mushrooms as well, because that grounds me a lot, because I need a lot of grounding. But I found I was like making every single decision horrific. It was a shit show. I was pulling the China shop for about 6 months. Couldn't work out why and couldn't work out why. And then it's crazy. The diet just changes everything.
Yep.
I'm still where I actually think there's a pattern as well because I had disordered eating for 22 years between like ADHD and disordered eating as well because people can be so picky. That's just part of who they
Very picky.
be misdiagnosed. Um,
100%.
yeah, so I think that's
Easily. Because you have food textures, you have smells, you have taste, and it's people are just very, very funny about that. They don't like the texture, they don't like the taste, and if they don't have what they want at that point in time, they don't eat.
yeah, exactly.
And people
It's
think, oh, it's eating disorder. I'm like, no, it's just I have to have this. Like otherwise, like my brain just it's just the way we are wired, and we are used to comfort, and we're used to having. If we are looking forward to a certain thing and then we can't have it, it is incredibly, incredibly depressing, and it's very hard for us to get out of that.
totally.
So, so sort of focused on it. There is an aspect of we need to work on our mindset and be a bit more flexible. And I do teach that with my clients, and I listen. If you can be a bit flexible around certain things, if you know you're not going to have it, at least get something in, get a meal in. But there probably is a high correlation between some forms of eating disorders and ADHD.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. But I think we're so blessed to know. Sorry, my throat's going. We're
That's all
so
right.
blessed. We're so blessed to now know about these things nowadays. Like I think if you look like I know I'm 33. Like 10, 15 years ago, no one really knew about this, or it wasn't like widely spoken about.
No, it really wasn't. And it was kind of very much like poo-pooed and shoved it on the rug. And it's like, oh, you're just a stupid child. You're a troubled child. You're a nightmare to deal with. And that's where the masking comes in. You just try to blend in with society. But the amount of stress and toll that takes upon your nervous system, your happiness, your anxiety, your depression, because you end up just feeling very lonely. Like, well, no one really knows who I am. They know this character that I portray, and that's very alienating. And we back in the day, like there was no community for this type of stuff, so it would very much feel very, very isolating, and it's just not healthy at all. So thankfully these days there are communities which are being built around it, and all these types of things where people are kind of congregating together and supporting each other. So that's fantastic.
Are there any good communities you'd recommend?
There are the only communities that I currently know of are people on Instagram. Sorry, some people on Instagram, some people on TikTok. Like I have personally myself, I started doing morning lives where it's just
Great.
we do a body doubling work along. It's going to be essentially Wednesdays and Fridays. I may include it on Mondays as well. See, this Monday was not going to happen. Uh,
Yeah.
and today I have this. So it's just a case of, you sit down and you body double, and you're just there and you have someone to just help you just keep you accountable. And it helps to have someone on camera. You're working alongside them, then it really does act as body doubling. So I find that works really well. There's a bunch of us on TikTok who do it. There's Instagram, other coaches who have I think they've created platforms on a different, website via membership, and you can join their communities. I can't remember their names. They all kind of have very similar names. So like ADHD something, Emily Coach, or I'm like, okay, fine, cool, great. I'm going to forget that.
Yeah, just start searching ADHD, guys, and you'll find you'll find them. But I think
Yeah,
more and more
you'll
are going
find
to come up.
you find the people exactly.
That's the good thing about the word ADHD. It's quite easy to find things. Yeah. And so for you, like, where do you see yourself going, I guess, with this whole journey and this whole, amazing kind of lifestyle that you've created for yourself?
So I see, because I have my startup as well, so it would be a case of very much getting my startup to where I want it to be in terms of.
Tell me about your startup. What's this
Oh,
stuff?
so it's called Spellbound. It's a botanical chocolate truffles company,
Yes.
and we create botanical chocolate truffles for 4 different aspects of life. So from my own private practice, I've seen that most people struggle with stress and anxiety, digestion issues, focus, and actually libido. So I've got chocolate truffles, the chocolate's all organic. The herbs are all high extracts, and I have one for each one. So for stress and anxiety, I have State of Zen. For focus, I have State of Focus. For digestion, I have Digestive. And for libido, I have Venus's Passion. And each one, within about 30 minutes, half an hour, you actually start to feel the effects.
Wow. And so how did you create these? How did you work with these things?
So I sort of started looking into creating them back in lockdown, kind of playing with the idea, the recipes. And then once lockdown sort of started ending, I started being able to get stuff sent over and just basically batch cooking in my kitchen and just trying stuff out, see what worked. And then it's been a case of growing the business and the brand, creating the branding, the tone of voice, the website, the photography, and now essentially I've done a soft launch just before Christmas. I sold out, and now hopefully by the end of January, beginning of February, I'll have my new batch in, and my website will be up and running again by then.
Oh my gosh, exciting. So do you ship worldwide or is this UK
So I
for now?
ship UK and US. I can't really do EU unless you're willing to pay something like £45 for like a DHL, which no one is going to be willing to. Brexit's kind of ruined the European market unless I have a European base. So
Oh,
that's something I will be looking into over the future. But I'd first want to go to set up a base in America, and then the Middle East, and then Europe. Probably Europe's probably my tertiary, fourth market really.
yeah. And I know sort of like APAC side of the world would love this. They would dig it massively. Um, so yeah.
So yeah, so that's kind of what I want to do with my startup, and then with the coaching business, it's a case of helping as many people as I can. So I'll be doing group containers. I'm going to be launching a group course in the next 2 weeks. It'll be about 6 to 8 weeks long, going through diet, nutrition, body work, somatic, music, a lot of stuff which is research based. And then the final week will be an aspect of how to put it all together. So that's what I will be doing this coming year. I'll run that probably a few times this year. Otherwise, it's just building the coaching business and helping as many people as possible with their ADHD.
Amazing. So anyone that's wanting to join the group program, how many people do you have? Is there a limit, or what does that look
So
like?
it'll probably be quite a small group. I think anywhere between 10 to 15 max
Okay.
will be the vibe, at least for the first one. And then depending on how that goes, I will then open up the space. I always want to keep the first things kind of small, kind of more intimate. I can get more time with each person because you also get an individual consultation with me as well. So there'll be definitely, I want to keep it quite small and quite intimate, and then I will increase it if there's more demand for it.
Amazing. Okay. So for anyone that's listening right now that's like, I want to work with Alex, where can I find him? Give us your
Uh,
TikTok first off, because everyone wants to be looking at your TikTok, I can imagine. So what's your
My
TikTok?
TikTok is at healthy pillars. So that's healthy as in healthy and pillars like a pillar of sand. It's all one word. I should be essentially one of the first names that comes up when you type that into TikTok. My Instagram is at healthy_pillars. But if you want to talk to me directly, you can just email me at alex@healthypillars.com.
Amazing. Okay. Thank you so much, Alex. It's been an absolute honor to have you, and I could chat to you for a very long time about all these things. So I appreciate you sharing, and I'm so grateful for what you do as well in this world. I think we can need a lot of people need your help and support, and it's just only the beginning. So thank you so much for everything that you do.
Thank you very much for having me. It's been a great pleasure, great honor to share everything with you.
Oh, you're so welcome. And yeah, for anyone listening, I will put everything in the show notes. If anything has like affected anyone today, or they feel like they want to speak a little bit more closer, you have my details, so slide into my DMs. But for now, thank you so much for listening, everyone, and I will see you all soon. Hold up. So, as much as you are enjoying listening to this episode, I just wanted to slide in here quickly to say 83% of you aren't subscribed to listening to the show. And I see you. I know all of you that are listening. I know all of you that are enjoying the show. Now, if you click on the subscribe button on whatever platform you're listening to, you get reminders of when the show next goes live. It also helps me build and interview better people, creating a better experience for you guys and making sure that everyone is listening to what they want to hear, expressing themselves, and learning more about how to be in their bodies and how to intimately live their most magical life. So click subscribe, and I will be watching on you, and I will see you soon. Mwah. Enjoy. Back to today's episode.